Coming to you straight from the Rio Grande and beyond. Broadcasting to the four corners of the globe. So grab your seat, your coffee, or your sundowner.
Okay, everybody, here we go.
On point, as always. This is Gloves Off. Gloves Off. Gloves Off is always on point. On point. Bringing you the best on current issues, community affairs, and the happenings around us. This segment of Gloves Off is brought to you by the best, so pay them a visit. Check them out. This is Gloves Off.
I'll count to 5 and then we'll go ahead and kind of get everything in. Go 1, 2. We're back at you with Gloves Off, and today we have Javier Mendoza. We're talking about appraisals and taxes, and if you need to go protest, what are we going to do about it? How can you go about it? What you need to do, and the ins and outs of the whole thing. How are we doing, Javier?
Pretty good, Paul.
How's everything? Good, good. Yourself?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Can't complain.
So tell me, how or what can, if somebody's having trouble with doing a protest, what are the steps they should take?
Well, the deadline was yesterday, May 15th, but I'm sure last year I helped some people and it was, June, and they were still taking, still hearing cases. So there's still a chance if people haven't filed a protest, they can probably still do so. But the first thing to do is when they got their notice of appraised value in the mail, on the back, there's a 7-step process to protest it. As you can tell, I filled mine out. I actually did it online, but I still filled it out. I was going to do it, submit it, but I said, you know what, I already had the account open from the year before, and so I just logged in and submitted the information online. But it's not a difficult process. Mine went up close to $40,000 in appraised value. So the first step you do is you see your the appraisal. Everybody's on average has been going up around 5 to 10%. Some of them aren't really going up. Some of them actually went down, but the majority you're going to see an increase on the value of your home. And for example, in my instance, I had bought it last year and supposedly supposed to stay for 2 years. And when I got the appraisal, it went up close to $40,000. I'm like, what happened? So I went online, WebCAD, and it breaks everything down for you. What they did was they increased the value of my home based on the land. Because when I protested last year, Paul, I submitted the information. They give you a hearing date if you're not happy. I protested mine. They said, no, we don't agree with what you're saying. We're going to stay with the value that we gave you. So the next step is to appeal. And you appeal to the ARB, the Appraisal Review Board. And there's, I think, 5 or 6 people, it's 5 people, and they hear your case. And so when I went to the ARB, I told them, look, the houses that you gave me as comps, the comparables that they think are comparable to my house, they're at a lower value. Why would you give me homes that you appraised even lower than my home, but you're increasing mine? And they said, well, you bought your house, for, you just bought your house, and so it's, you paid $300,000 for home, but you still have to take into account the realtor. They took 6%, so from a $300,000 home, that's $18,000.
Sure.
That they had to pay the realtor, the broker and the realtor. So then, let's say you take down the $18,000, that goes to $282. Then they paid the closing costs, so it brings it even lower. But that doesn't go into account the everything that the repairs that the home needed. So I explained that to the ARB, and they said, you know what, we agree with you, we'll lower it. It was a 3-2 vote, and so that was supposed to stay that for. They told me it was going to be like that for 2 years. So I was surprised when mine went back up to 300, and or over 300, and so I'm looking and I'm trying to they told me it was going to be like that for 2 years, and so I see that they increased the square footage because when I went to the ARB last year, I go, if you're going to screw me over, at least increase the square footage of my home because the garage was converted, and it was converted completely before I bought it, so it has the AC, everything, and so they told me they couldn't do that. So then I look at WebCat on online, and I see they did increase the square footage.
Do you think who's on the board or who's on the committee right now?
This year, there's 2 new ones. Last year, it was I know that Cristobal Rodriguez, Jimmy Scotto. I think those are the 2 that are back this year. Rosalind Hines Gonzalez, she's there last year. I think that was her first year. She's going again this year. And then I noticed, I think there was 2 new ones, 2 new board members. I don't know who they are. I know one of them is Mr. Mendiola. I've met him. I don't know him personally. And then the other person was, I don't know how to even pronounce his last name. I think it was a Mel. I'm not too sure. So those are the people who are going to. They're either realtors or people who are in the realty business or appraisal business. So they have a better understanding. So you want to get people who know. So when you go to them, and they're very objective. I mean, they see both sides, and in most cases, if you go to them and you present to them, like you say, my home is 30 years old, the roof needs replacing. But you take them pictures. You take them pictures. Like in my instance, where the garage was converted, they never fixed the exterior, so the garage door is still there, and it's all warped. It's water damage. That's going to cost me a couple $1,000 to fix. So that's one example I took them. The restrooms need to be totally remodeled. One of them had a hole in the tile. One of them has mold inside, so the tiles are popping out. And I explained that to them, and so they, the sprinkler system in the back was, I still haven't repaired it. The swimming pool equipment needed to be replaced completely. I've already done that. That was $4,000, and so it adds up. And so when I went to the appraisal board, to the review board, I gave them pictures. I showed them, look, this is, even though I paid this much for the house, the reason I paid so much is because the county, the county appraisal board, what they do in Plantation where I live, they got 2 houses that were completely remodeled, completely remodeled. Not just they remodeled the restaurant. No, they remodeled the restrooms, the bathrooms. They did a nice landscaping, so it brings the value up. So they chose the most, the newest homes that sold at the highest, and now they want to say that everybody's home can sell at the same price. No, my house hasn't been remodeled since it was built. How can you compare my home with a house that was recently remodeled? And so how do you find that out? And most people are they're like, well, how are you going to find everything out? So I tell people, if you need help, send me a message through Facebook. And what I tell them is, once you fill out this paperwork, and they'll tell you what do you think the value is. Don't fill it out. Don't give them any idea. Just leave it blank. It says there it's optional. You go and you do your research. Let them send you the comps. They will send you the paperwork, and they're going to tell you, they're going to give you 3 or 4 houses. They're going to say, okay, this is the reason we feel your house. And those comps sold recently, within the year. And they'll give you those. I researched the ones that they just gave me, and they're lower priced than my home. Again, I don't know why they do that. I don't know if they don't care, or they just think, we'll just give them whatever, and most likely they're not going to protest it. We'll just give them whatever. Let them figure it out. Okay. So I go to Realtor.com. The 2 houses that I was able to figure out have been completely remodeled. How can you get 2 homes completely remodeled and not even in Plantation? They gave me in Lakeside, I think was one of them. The other one was in Winfield. And these are homes that are completely remodeled. One of them is like 15 years newer than mine. And it's lower appraised than mine. And so I don't know why they do this. I don't know if they have it against me because I fought them and made them look bad. That's a whole different story, and I can discuss that later. But this is the questions that I have. Why do they do that? Why are some homes ridiculous? Like they will go to an absurd amount, like my I think it was 38,000 that they appraised mine at higher than the year before. Why do they do that? Where did they get that? There's a neighbor that tried selling their home for several months. They lowered it to 312,000, so they just took it off the market. They couldn't even sell at 312. The house that they did give me was one that they sold for 310. The house is bigger. That house was in the market for about a year, because it was a house that I saw when I was looking for my home, Paul. That was over a year and a half ago. So how are these appraisals trained? Do they just go and say, okay, well, the city's spending so much money, so we need to raise the revenue at least 5%, or we need to raise the city's revenue, the tax revenue for the city, the county, the school districts at least 10%, 5%. I don't know how they work, because it just seems like they're just throwing numbers. And so when people don't protest, Paul, that's the issue that I have. When people don't protest, because last year when I spoke to one of the appraisers, they're like, well, people are happy with their taxes because they don't protest. And I told them, notice a lot of people don't know how, or they're afraid.
I think a lot of people are afraid.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are afraid to go up there and basically tell them, look, this is what's going on. This is not what I think the value is of the house. And so with that being said, we know the way people are here in Laredo. People are not going to step up towards the government of any type. They're kind of going to bow their heads down, and they're going to be told, you do it this way or it's a highway. And sometimes that's very bad. So that type of culture that we have here, we need to break it.
And it's not only that, Paul. The fact is that since a lot of people don't protest, and I think it comes from the politicians always saying, well, we didn't raise your tax rate. We're not raising your tax rate. So I think people feel, okay, well, they're not raising our tax rate, well then, okay. But the one thing that I have is in Laredo, what do we get? We have nothing. We don't have anything to show for the high taxes that we pay. Our tax rate is higher than San Antonio. Our tax rate is higher than Dallas. Our tax rate is higher than McAllen. And not just by a little bit. The last year's tax rate was for the city of Laredo was 0.63 per $100 valuation. The city of McAllen was at, I think, 0.48 per $100 valuation. That's a major difference, Paul. That's $100 a month, depending on how much you're paying, depending on how much your house is appraised at. I mean, that's ridiculous. And what do we have to show for it? Nothing. So that's why I want people to protest, because the worst thing that can happen, Paul, if you protest, nothing, you still pay the same amount that they gave you originally. That's the worst thing. All you have to do is submit it, submit the paperwork. You can go drop it off in Clark or do it online. And they give you a paper on how to do it online. E-filing. It comes in with this one. It all comes together. And it tells you, it explains it, But it's a lot easier to do it this way, just to go and submit it.
So number one, if you want to go out and protest, you better have pictures to prove that.
Well, the first step, no. The first step would just fill out the paperwork and submit it. And don't give them a number that you think your house is worth. Like, for example, someone had sent me a message yesterday, and the property that I looked at it went up from 89,000 to 96. I think it was 88,000 to 86,000. It went up 10% in value. And so, I told the person, don't put it, just submit the protest. She went and submitted the protest there on Clark. Another person, told me the same thing. That and they told me, well, I have, I'm going to need a new roof. The inspector didn't, like when they bought the house, the inspector said your house is going to give up in around 2 to 3 years. So I'm telling people, okay, all you need to do right now is submit the protest. See where they're going to come back. They're either going to come back with a counter offer, maybe something lower, or they're going to tell you no, we don't agree, and we're going to keep it at the same price, the same appraisal. Once that happens, they're going to have to give you proof of why they think they're correct. That's your comps, your comparables. They're going to give you houses that they think are similar to your house. And so what happens is that's when they're going to give you a date where you're going to, well, actually when they do that, you tell them, okay, I'm not happy, I'm going to appeal. That's when you appeal, you're going to send it off or you're going to do it online. You appeal, and then later on they're going to give you a date. My date is in June to meet with the ARB. That's when you start researching. That's when you go to realtor.com, go to the houses that they gave you, those addresses that they gave you. Go to Webcat too. Go to realtor.com and Zillow.com. Insert those addresses that the Webcat gave you. And that's how I find out, hey, that house was completely remodeled. So I print out the information, print out the comps, and say, look, this comp that you gave me was totally remodeled. It says there, kitchen remodeled, restrooms remodeled, backyard, whatever. And it gives you everything because the realtor wants to sell the home. I print all that out. I went to the ARB with that information and told them, look, you're giving me a higher value because this person sold their house, but their house is totally remodeled. Mine isn't. And what happens is that other people start buying homes because they think since that house was sold and there were no permits. A lot of the times, because I told the appraisal and I showed her, I go, you're giving me a comp that was totally remodeled. So she looks up, well, I have no permit. Well, of course, people are not going to get permits to remodel their restrooms or kitchen because they don't want to pay more taxes. They're already paying high as it is. And these are prominent homes and plantation, and they didn't get permits. That goes to tell you, people, even the rich, don't want to pay more taxes.
Of course.
They're having a hard time.
Of course they're not going to want to pay more taxes.
And that's the problem.
And that's the problem that we have here. Everything here, what you just said, they do not want to go register that they remodeled. They do not want to do this. Everything's done below, under the table.
Yes.
That's the culture that we've been living in for a very long time. And and somewhere or another we have to bust that.
And the consequence, Paul, is that homes are overappraised. That's the problem. Because nobody protests, and then now we're having water and sewer rates going up even more. So for example, on my home, just because my home went up about $38,000, I say $40,000. I'm going to end up paying about $100 more per month because of property taxes and because of water and sewer. That's crazy.
No, it's crazy. And like you said, we have nothing to show about.
I'm going to pay $100 more per month, and nothing changed. Nothing. Why? Because the city does not know how to spend their money. There's an AC River that's not finished, and I don't think it's ever going to get finished. And then we have a Pico plant, the water plant, that doesn't even work. That was what, $100 million? When in 2008, Paul, 2010, the bond debt for the city of Laredo was about $500 million. Now, in 9 years, it's close to $1 billion. Where's that money going? Why are we spending so much money? Why are we buying so much bonds? What for?
That's a good question.
And that's the reason we're paying more.
But you say the same thing. My father says the same thing. Our neighbor down the street says the same thing. Everybody is saying exactly the same thing.
But we keep voting the same people in.
We got two new ones, but the thing is, now it's a little bit different, I think.
But the unfortunate thing is that those two new ones voted for the increase of the water and sewer.
I have, that's a different story to get into. But here's my theory on that. In 2000, you came back and you were running back. You had just come back and you had just come back in 2000. I just moved back. How many mayors have we had since 2000? Ben Flores, Raul, and Sainz.
Yeah.
How many city managers? The Flo?
Back it was
Flo? Flores.
Was it?
Yeah, Flo.
When
Larry
they
Dovalina.
got in, Dovalina went.
No. It was Flo, then it was Dovalina, then it was Ralph Garcia, then it was Carlos Villarreal, then it was Olivares,
Yes.
and then it was Horacio, and now we have 2. That's 8. And nothing's been done. Everybody blames the people we elect, everybody blames the city manager. I put the blame on the department heads, because it's still the same department heads, the majority of them, that have been there 25, 30 years, and they have done nothing. There's a couple in there that will jump around and help out the other departments and kind of get them up, because the other department has been shown to be lax or have done errors and so on and so forth, like this stuff that happened with the pound. They brought in another department head to help them out to fix everything else, because guess what? It's an emergency now. People are looking at it now. What are we going to do about it? Let's fix the problem that exists. And I've said it, we've talked about this before. If we do not replace the majority of department heads, the city's still going to continue going down. In 2 more years, we're going to have 2 more new ones. They may be the same ones, might be voted back in there, but we have at least 3, 4 that are running in 2 years, next year. So guess what's going to happen? They're going to be replaced, and the department heads are still going to be the same ones that are going to be in there. The problem, I think, that's in the city, it's embedded within the departments, and that need to be cleared out, period, or else we're never going to get anything done.
No, I do agree with that, but I think it comes from the top, from the city manager's office. I think the problem is there that city managers, when they come to Laredo, they're friends with several on city council or friends with department heads. If you look at every past city manager, they've started with the city, and I think that's the problem. They don't want to they work out. Let's take for example Carlos Villarreal. He came in city, then went with the county, and then came back to the city. And that's not acceptable. I think that in itself shows the level of corruption here in Laredo. When a person can jump back and forth, from one government entity to another, they're doing as they please, and they've done things to help others, so they can come back and jump and get more money, and come back over here and get more money, and then go back and get more money. I think that's the problem, Paul.
I think it leads back to this. If you have somebody that can tell people, do your job, you're doing it wrong. You're not doing it correctly.
There's no oversight.
And Carlos was that type of person. You're doing it wrong. You better fix it now, or I'm gonna go after you.
If that was the case, the utilities department, and that's the thing about the Pico water plant. It wasn't just bad construction. Dan and Bond is saying that the city utilities director, Tomas Rodriguez at that time, had approved a change order. That's illegal. Okay, you can't do that. There's no government entity does that. That's why we have a city council. If there's a change order, it needs to be approved by the city council. How did Don and Bond get a change order without getting approved by city council?
You just said it. The director was the one that changed it and approved it. So the
But
problem.
now he's saying he never did that.
So the problem lies back with the directors. See, the directors run each department like their own little business, their own little empire. And they never tell the city manager, they never tell the city council, they do whatever they please. And when they do get caught, I never said that, I never did that, So that's the problem that we have.
But
We can change, we can put the majority of the apostles in city council here. Okay? Including all of them. We can put, how many are there? 9, including the mayor? We can put 9 apostles inside there. And I guarantee you the city's still going to be run the same, because they're going to be told that everything is fine and dandy. They're going to give them their nice little kite show and their movie show at the park, and they're going to be, everything's fine, look at what's going on, and everything underneath is the pits.
Yeah.
And that's basically what happens. They understand, these department heads, that 2-4 years, we can get rid of him if he doesn't play, or we can continue with him if he's just going to turn the other way. And I don't think they're turning the other way on purpose. I just think that being told everything's fine and we have it under control. And I think that's what's coming up.
No, I agree with that, but I also think that the department heads look the other way because they're afraid of losing their job. They don't hire qualified people. The city does not hire qualified people. I've applied for positions in the city, and I'm told I'm not qualified. But yet I'm better qualified than the people that they hire. That's what I don't understand. How does someone run an animal shelter with no experience whatsoever, and they continue to hire people with no experience whatsoever, but then they tell me that I'm not qualified to be a parks director, even though my experience from my company, I've worked for Parks and Rec for the city of Georgetown, for Burnett County, for Williamson County, for this for school districts like Diamond Box, Alamo College,
Sure.
For the university here, where they have rec centers, where I take care of parks for schools like Harmony.
Sure.
I have the experience to do all that. The maintenance, the biggest aspect, the biggest budget of the Parks and Leisure Department for the city of Laredo is operations and maintenance. And I have that experience. No, but they said they want somebody who's run a rec center, who has no experience in budgeting, who has no experience in managing a $1 million budget. They just want somebody who tells, oh, okay, that's closed. You know, that the water park is closed today, or you know what, we're going to let you have the event here tomorrow. That's the kind of experience that they look for, and that's the reason the city of Laredo is messed up. That's the reason we have.
That's why we need to go protest for our taxes to be lowered,
Exactly.
because our taxes are not being spent wisely.
If we can protest, and the majority of people protest, they're going to start valuing at the correct appraisal, market value, the true market value, not this inflated market value that we have right now. So what's going to happen? Revenues go down, city council will either have to cut back or raise the tax rate. And if they raise the tax rate, they get voted out, we get new people, and that is the way we change things. We make sure people get voted out when they start voting for these wasteful projects.
But let's get back to the taxes. If people need to protest, they can get a hold of you. Where can they get a hold of you?
On Facebook, just search B Mendoza. They can send me a message and I'll get it, even if I'm not their friend, or they can send me a friend request, and I will guide them through it. I can tell them how the step-by-step process. It's not difficult. It is kind of confusing. When I first did it, I was like, okay, what am I doing? And that's it. I had already gotten a real estate license. I got my realtor license from the state of Texas, and I still, was hesitant and a little bit confused. But I'll guide them through it, so that way they can do it. And when it comes, if the webcat doesn't lower it, and they say no, we're going to keep it at the same rate, they can appeal, and then I can help them in that process on how to research their property compared to the comparables that they got from webcat, and that way they can be successful. If they go in there to the Webb County Appraisal Board, to the Appraisal Review Board, they go there and I'm paying a lot of money. They're not gonna win that way. They have to show proof, that maybe their door is warped and it has a gap and they need to replace it, and that's maybe $1,000, that they have to spend to replace that. Their AC unit, maybe they've been in their house for 15 years. Their AC unit is going to give out anytime soon.
Of course.
You cannot compare that with a house that just had it,
a new
completely refurbished.
Exactly. So those steps you can guide them through.
Yes, and they can take pictures. I can tell them, okay, you know what? They gave you a comp. Let's say they gave you the address 100 Hillside. We'll go to Realtor.com. It's going to be there because the comps are homes that are just sold.
Exactly.
Okay, so then you go to Realtor.com, put 100 Hillside, you look at it, it'll give you pictures, and then tell you in the description, usually most of the time, tell you completely remodeled, or new roof was put in.
Exactly, because they
new AC, yes, the new AC system, this HVAC system has been completely put in brand new from the interior to the exterior unit. Everything's brand new. That's maybe a $12,000 hit, depending on how big the house is. A smaller house, $6,000, whatever it may be. But that's what I'm talking about. So you add that up and say, okay, it's going to cost you around $40,000 to repair all this, to where you're able to sell the house at that same price that they gave you the comp. And in most times, Paul, the comp that they gave you, if you go to webcat, it's going to be less than what they're appraising your home. And if there is less, and their home is completely remodeled, yours definitely needs to be lower.
Exactly.
And that's how you go to the appraisal review board with that information. Don't argue, like, don't be, I don't, to pay $100 more a month, Paul, I mean.
To a lot of people, it hits a pocket.
Yeah.
And to everybody, basically, right now in this time frame. And that's something that we have to do. And folks, if you guys go out there and you're having trouble and you're not content and you want to protest, you want to appeal and so on and so forth, please give Mr. Mendoza a call.
Or to contact you
Sure.
on your
You can contact me and I'll lead you to Mendoza. And I think that's
and
the
I'm
best
going to
way
start, and I wanted to start this earlier, Paul. I started a nonprofit, so for next year, I'm going to be able to get college students where I'm going to give them scholarships because I was going to try to do it through my company, but I went to the university and I wanted to work with groups,
Sure.
Student groups, organizations, but there was going to be a conflict because there was going to be income. So now that I have the nonprofit, I just need one more step to I think it's for the tax purposes, I need to send some letters. Once I get that, I'll be full to work, and so by next year, I'm going to be able to help more people, and little by little, it's going to start small. Once people realizing that they can do, I know more people are going to come and ask for help, and so that's what I want to do.
That's great. Number one, thank you again, and thank you for stepping up and doing
Well, we
it.
need to do something.
Everybody does.
Yeah. And you're
This is
doing a
our-
lot, and I want to do the same thing.
And we have to go forward. And folks, stand up and be proud of Laredo.
Yeah.
Okay? And number one, let's go out there. If you're not content with how they raise their taxes, let's go protest.
Yeah.
Okay? Until next time, peace.
Gloves Off is always on point. On point. Bringing you the best on current issues, community affairs, and the happenings around us. This segment of Gloves Off is brought to you by the best, so pay them a visit. Check them out. This is Gloves Off.